Avengers Endgame just came back from the movie. Just got back in the house, wrote down some thoughts for my spoiler kind of discussion here, just to get some ideas. Never done this before. I've watched a bunch of these, but so I'm just trying to just start rambling things off here. Obviously, love the movie. Um, the first act, just the emotional beats, the dour moments, the kind of the sadness, even the palette, the color of the film in those instances is much more gray. There's not a lot. Obviously, there's no life going on the scene because it's set in the atmosphere of the sadness of what's happened in the aftermath of the snap. And kind of throw a curveball at you. I mean, we come back and it's only been 21 days. They hatch their plan to go kill Thanos and try to get the stones back, and everything goes according to plan, except that he destroyed the stones, obviously. So, and then we kind of go into kind of where I thought the movie was going to start out was with that time jump and kind of see how everyone's managing. But it was kind of cool to see, them because these guys are heroes. They're not used to losing, so their initial reaction after they lose is to try to win again, and they don't. They lose again, and so it's kind of cool that they don't just lose in Infinity War, and then all just go to pot. They lose, but then they're the Avengers. They're gonna avenge. They're gonna go. Let's go figure this out, and they go and chop off Thanos' head, and that doesn't solve anything. Doesn't fix the problem. So they're right back at square one. So that's when we fast forward 5 years later. And, we start off with seeing Cap with his emotional support group. I thought that was cool, that there are still people alive in this world and how you cope and how you deal with those kinds of things. What is it like to live in a world where, I have to imagine every single person knows somebody or was affected by, either very immediately, like how the amount of support that would be needed, the amount of they don't spend a ton of time diving on that, but you get the idea from the world that they're building, with shots of empty stadiums. The director that stars in the movie, I can't remember which Russo brother it is in the movie, but he's in the movie in that support group scene, and he mentions how he's talking to his whoever he's meeting for dinner, and he says how they just missed the Mets. So that since this happened, no sport. We fly over. There's a flyover of the stadium. It's empty. The world's just kind of stopped. There, no sports. You have to imagine they're not making movies. It's just no one knows how to deal with this world right now. And Cap is telling people that they need to pick up and move on, but obviously, he can't. So, it's kind of cool to see that juxtaposed with people like Hulk and Tony that are actually doing better. Tony's got everything he's ever wanted. He's settled down. He's finally been able to devote time to his life. There's no crime. There's no supervillains. There's no need for them to be heroes, really. They have a daughter. That scene was very emotional. I think that was one of the earlier ones where Ashley got a little choked up, was seeing that he had a daughter there. And just knowing that his life is actually better, and Pepper even kind of tells him when he's kind of contemplating, and you can tell that he's grappling with the fact that he has everything he's ever wanted, and to do the right thing, he has to give all that up. And Pepper kind of says, we were lucky that we're all here together. Really, no one else is that way. So, of course, and he can't resist. Does the right thing in the end, and helps out. But and then you have Hulk, who, we obviously was kind of teased, and they kind of gave some of this away in some of the pre-marketing. Obviously, everyone saw the video or the clips and graphics of Hulk in the full Avengers gear, and you kind of got the idea that they'd been teasing even since Ragnarok, and that there was going to be this kind of fused. Eventually, Banner and Hulk were going to figure it out and become one. So, but seeing that was cool. But again, he's someone who, the first time we see him, he's taking selfies and he's happy. He's calm. He's this weird hipster Hulk kind of thing, and he's happy too. So you have some people that are found a better life almost in this post-snap world. So seeing that juxtaposed, with Cap and Black Widow, who are just completely distraught, was definitely cool. some of the benefits of the snap were kind of interesting. If Infinity War kind of toyed with the idea that the villain is right in the way that if you could decrease population like that, obviously taking away the emotional human aspect of losing lives and just strictly from a resource standpoint, it probably would help some things. And you even see that Cap mentions when he comes into the office or comes into the Avengers headquarters that he saw a pot of whales in the Hudson River, and because there's not so many boats and pollution coming through, life is spreading and growing in new ways. So seeing that kind of played off in Infinity War, how some of the stuff that Thanos said made sense, was kind of cool, because you're kind of sitting there thinking like, yeah, I mean, things are kind of heading in a good way. Like I mentioned, there hasn't been any more supervillains. Like these heroes don't have anything to do. Nature and the earth is healing in a way, but of course that's not the human. And Thanos even mentions that later when he decides, past Thanos realizes the snap won't work. As long as there are people that remember the previous world, they're doomed to make the same mistakes. So he has the idea of just completely wiping the slate clean and creating new life that will be, not know that past. So again, it all makes sense. If you put yourself in, obviously it doesn't make sense because we would never do that, but you start turning the gears and putting yourself in the shoes and you're like, yeah, I guess that is the next logical conclusion that you would come to. So yeah, that was definitely cool. The time travel aspect, I think most people at this point, and speculating in the lead up, figured time travel is going to have some, whether it be the time stone or whether it be, obviously once the Ant-Man and the Wasp thing kind of, you started thinking it was probably going to have something to do with the quantum realm, however they were going to work that out. But I thought they did a good job with it. They even poked a lot of fun at all the multiple characters mentioned other time travel movies and how everything that we know about time travel we essentially have from movies. So that was definitely cool. I like the approach they took of almost like a Doctor Who approach, where like you don't dwell too much on the specifics. If you start getting too deep on the specifics of how time travel works and what affects what, and all these different things, you can easily get bogged down and you start building these rules for your movie to follow, and it gets kind of hard. So in a way, you just kind of brush like a real broad stroke about it, which they kind of did. They just kind of Hulk mentions, like, he just says a bunch of words and it all just kind of washes it all away. They go and do their thing, and it's fine. It's a movie, I'm sure there's somebody who's going to do a hour-long video and break down every loophole and this shouldn't have happened, this shouldn't have happened, this would affect this, and then you're going to get that. But I think the approach they took of just kind of, this is how we're going to do it. Yeah, you can interact with yourself and it's not going to rip a hole in the space-time continuum or whatever. That was fine. Seeing Cap fight himself was awesome. All the references to Cap's butt, American butt, were hilarious. But seeing him kind of see, like, because he's come a long way since the first Avengers film, obviously. And even him, like, kind of joking at the, I can do this all day. He's like, yeah. And him knowing that his biggest weakness at that moment was Bucky. So he says, like, Bucky's alive. And he instantly just stops. Like, he knows that he's learned and he's developed, and this other Cap that he's fighting has not been through the stuff that he's been through. But that was still a cool scene. All the time travel scenes were fun, and I think that's kind of what played into why a 3-hour movie did not feel like a 3-hour movie. I mean, you go back and remember watching the like all the Lord of the Rings movies and stuff like that. Some of those just felt, I mean, they're good movies, they're terrific movies, but they feel like 3 hours long. This didn't feel like 3 hours long. You think about like the first act, pre-time travel, when it's like this, for one, it's all stuff you've been wanting to see since Infinity War, how they live in this world after the snap. And it's very like a dour drama, a lot of like really great acting from the actors dealing with this. Then we move into the what they call time heist, where they're going around and getting the Infinity Stones, and it takes a much lighter approach. They're kind of poking fun at the last 11 years of Marvel movies. Even like Thor: Dark World is probably most people's consensus worst one. And when Thor's trying to explain it, and everyone's just kind of like this, but Paul Rudd's like, yeah, that was clever. But like that's much more like, it kind of settles into like a hokey, fun adventure. That's where most of the comedy in the movie is. And then we move into third act, and once they actually get back and Thanos shows up and the giant battle, and then it turns into this epic, where we're paying off, years of speculation, we're paying off years of build up and all these moments, and we're hitting on all cylinders at that point in this epic conclusion, and you're in at that point. I mean, that's the thing, you're in. If you've not even seen all 11 movies, if you've seen even just the Avengers ones, if you've seen most of the main character Thor, Iron Man, Cap movies, there's enough there that you're bought in at this point. You're completely in on it. So I thought that was all handled well. Fat Thor was hilarious. I wouldn't say I didn't see it coming. It was maybe like 5 seconds before they revealed it when I was like, he's gonna be fat, isn't he? And sure enough, he was completely which is just hilarious, and he stayed that way. And then I started thinking, well, when he finally, snaps out of it and summons the lightning, will he somehow morph back into that's his true form? He doesn't. He gets his armor back, and he's got dual hammers, but he's still fat under the armor. So that was pretty clever, and I'm sure Chris Hemsworth, was down, and I can just picture him on set getting a kick out of that. Ronan, Hawkeye going full Ronan was really cool. And pretty true to that character. There was obviously it was clear that he was going to be Ronan. They don't know if they ever actually say the name, but in the trailers and stuff, and the outfit, I mean, it looked like that's where they were going. And in the comics and stuff, that character is pretty brutal. So to see him straight up killing fools, and he even mentions the things he's done, that was cool. And I think an excellent turn for that character. The movie opens with him because, I mean, now that we know that Tony has a daughter and some of the other ones have a family, but he's been the one that even since back at Age of Ultron when we first met his family, that's always been his driving force. That's why, you see that the ankle bracelet is on house arrest. He's tried to retire a few times. Clearly his family is super important to him. So for them to open the movie with him losing his family in the snap, I think was really impactful and kind of helps us understand the dark spiral that he goes down when we see him as Ronin. But play that into eventually when him and Nat go and find the Soul Stone, and that was a really cool scene. Them essentially fighting each other to sacrifice themselves for the other one was just a really cool moment. And another great. I mean, I'm gonna keep saying payoff, but that's what this was. This whole movie was just a payoff of the last 11 years. Even back to Avengers, they mentioned Budapest, all the stuff they've been through. They've seen each other at their best and their most heroic moments, but also their deepest, darkest moments. And they both want to sacrifice that for the other one. Nat, just because obviously Clint has a family and she loves that family too and knows how he feels about the family, and him knowing the dark past and the things that he's done, feeling like this will help him atone for that, and you totally understand. You see why both people, and you see their love for each other, and that scene again. You only get that when you've spent the amount of time and energy building into these characters that they have over the past 11 years. Again, the payoffs are all earned. Everything. I mentioned it in the kind of snap reactions, the non-spoiler, and in my review, that there's a lot of fan service, and I don't like to use the word fan service really, because fan service is kind of a word that means cheap. You knew the audience would pop for this, so you threw it in there and just throw them a bone. And I wouldn't call it that, because everything, over 22 movies over 11 years, hours and hours and hours with these characters, it's earned. They've earned every moment, and just going into some of these, Cap picking up Thor's hammer has been something that since the first Avengers movie, people have kind of thought oh, I bet you Cap could pick it up. I bet you at some point, we thought it was going to happen a few times now. We thought it was going to happen in Avengers Age of Ultron, when he kind of wiggles it and stuff, and we were just kind of waiting for that. We finally got that payoff. Falcon becoming the new Captain America has been happening in the comics, so naturally kind of people thought either him or Bucky at some point are going to take up the mantle, because obviously people kind of speculated that Chris Evans was done with Marvel films, so got that payoff. Pepper and the rescue armor, so they've teased when, even back to Iron Man 3, when she doesn't really get armor, but the armor goes around her to protect her, and there's the extremist thing where she kind of gets some heroic moments, and you can kind of see where they were heading with that. So they gave that payoff. So I mean, there's multiple moments in this that are just, you know, moments that the crowd clapped. I mean, Cap picking up Thor's hammer was probably the biggest pop. Even more so than when everybody, you know, enters, which was cool. But when that hammer goes flying by and he grabs that thing, the audience went nuts. The crowd was applauding. I was applauding. It was pretty cool. But obviously the biggest payoff in the entire movie is when everybody that was lost in the snap shows up. So Thanos obviously shows up with this huge army, and then you start seeing them circles come out, and here comes Black Panther. Here comes, you know, when it's the Guardians of the Galaxy, everyone starts coming through these portals, and the army starts forming around Cap, who's just beaten to a pulp at this point. That's the peak. That's probably the crescendo of the 11 years building up to that moment when literally every single person, all in one place, because Infinity War they're all spread out, all in one place, charging at the enemy. And of course, once that and that Spiderweb comes through and Spider-Man comes through, Ashley grabbed me because that was like one of the big moments for her, is the relationship between Tony and Peter. So that was definitely awesome. So another just really awesome moment with that scene. So definitely enjoyed them all battling Thanos. That fight was cool, and I think it worked better because Thanos is a little underpowered now because he doesn't have the gauntlet. Whereas Infinity War, like, no one could touch him. He can just roll back time, or he can just throw you off to the side with the Power Stone, or he can just manipulate reality and turn your gun to bubbles. Like, them finding a way for him not to have the Infinity Stones and still be, like, really super strong led, I think, to a better fight scene. As cool as it was seeing him, like, throw a meteor at Tony, like, you know, you kind of just knew, like, there's no way they're going to beat this guy. But seeing them, you know, the emotions running, you know, Cap with Thor's hammer, Thor's got Stormbreaker, Tony's, I mean, everyone's amped up, cranked to 11, and just laying into Thanos, and that was an awesome fight scene. So, you know, I mean, it was all CGI, and people can say whatever they want about it. I'm sure there'll be enough criticisms about the CGI battle fest that the movie was, but, you know, who cares? That's cool. It's what you get when you come to these movies, so I don't know what you're expecting, but I thought they did a good job with that. Yeah, so Doctor Strange, we talked about the shifting tones. Oh, I guess the other giant moment was definitely Tony's death, which I thought was really cool. Him being able to hold the gauntlet alone when even Hulk had so much trouble with it was a cool moment, and his defining moment. I mean, you know, we can say what we want, but definitely, and everyone knows that Robert Downey Jr. is kind of what saved, I wouldn't say saved Marvel because it started with him, but this whole 11 years, this saga, he's the center of the entire thing. He's the thing that makes it go. So him having that moment, and obviously his death scene, and Gwyneth Paltrow just did an awesome job acting in that scene. Like, she's acting, and everybody in this movie, like, you know, these are good actors, but a lot of times you get these good actors in Hollywood movies, and they're acting on green screens, and they're wearing dots, and they got some, maybe like a shoulder piece of armor, and the rest is just whatever, and you just get these funny, but I mean, from the first act to the third, and like multiple characters like crying on cue and just selling the emotion. And, you know, again, you only get that when these actors have been working together for 11 years and have established these characters over hours and hours and hours of movies. That's the benefit of it, and it's not, obviously it's not easy to do, or else everyone would do it, and everyone's tried to do it. There's been multiple shared universes that they've tried to get off the ground, and have all failed. This one has worked, but it's been that was just an awesome moment with Tony's death, and the whole audience is crying. That's the moment when the girl sitting next to me that I mentioned was crying, and she didn't stop for the rest of the movie. So I don't think from that point till the credits rolled did she stop crying. So man, I feel like I have so many. It's, you ever like gone to like back when we had media play and other record stores, when like you have like an idea of all these different movies or CDs that you want to, and then you get in the store and you can't remember any of it. That's how I feel right now. So like, I feel like there's a ton of stuff I'm forgetting to talk about, but there's some of the moments that I wrote down. obviously, going forward, obviously Cap is pretty much done at this point. Iron Man obviously is done. Thor, I don't know. I'd heard, you would assumed, because Black Widow is now done. Technically Hawkeye still exists in the universe, but he's been trying to retire, so this is his chance to leave. We know we're getting a Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We know Gamora's out there somewhere, which was kind of weird why she didn't trust her sister enough to kind of hang around, why she bolted, I guess. Really see her after the end there. But yeah, what happens with Thor? So is he going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Is he not done with Marvel movies? Is Chris Hemsworth going to keep doing them for a bit? I don't really know. We'll find out, I guess. But everyone else, excellent exits. And that's what the movie felt like. It's weird because it's not the end. We know we're getting, obviously, more Black Panther. We know we're getting Spider-Man later this summer. Where we go next? So this chapter's closed. There's no end credits at this movie. Probably the first Marvel movie with no end credits. Spoiler, and there's no X-Men tease or anything like that. There's like an audio kind of tease, but no video of we don't know what's coming next. We know that they're not rebooting, obviously. They're keeping with these people. But where we go next, what the next big angle is, it felt like the end. The credits with everybody who's ever been in the movie, and then obviously the main core Avengers cast getting a very special silhouette with the writing and everything was really cool and felt like the end of an era. Yeah, so where we go from there, that was the other thing, was just every person they got in this movie, from Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas. Did Natalie Portman come in and film those scenes, or did they just piece them together from the footage they had? I don't know. Rene Russo, Robert Redford, William Hurt. Just about, I can't, all those side characters that they pulled in. There was probably one day on set for most of them, so it probably wasn't anything difficult, but just the logistics of getting all that together was absolutely amazing, and and it helped sell every single moment of it. So, yeah, I definitely want to go see the movie again and probably reinforce and remember some of these things. It's a 3-hour movie with a ton of stuff in it, so there's probably stuff in that, and while I'm watching it, I'm like, yes, remember that moment, and now I've completely forgotten. So, look forward to seeing it again. I'm actually going to go grab Ashley, and we're going to get some of her thoughts, and maybe some of the stuff she says will help jog my memory. But let's go talk to Ashley and see what she thinks about some. All right, so we're here with Ashley now. So this is spoiler-free territory. You can say whatever you want, and I'm kind of trusting on you since I totally forgot a lot of the stuff I was thinking, so I'm going to have to play off you a little bit. But, so, top 3 moments.
Good or bad?
I guess just whatever. It could be whatever.
Freaking Iron Man. Seriously though, like when he puts the glove on, or when Thanos is like, I am, what's he say?
I'm inevitability.
I am inevitable, and he snaps his fingers and nothing happens, and then like it goes on Iron Man, and then he's like, I am, and he's like, Iron Man, and he snaps, and I was like, oh god. I knew at that moment, I was like, he's dead. Yeah. He's gonna die. But from where he started to like Tony Stark.
Oh, yep.
Where he was, and then
they definitely put that in there with his message from Beyond the Grave, where he recorded, which is definitely a message for us. He even mentions that when he was in that cave or whatever, like, who'd have thought? And he's like, I would have believed if you had told me that aliens exist, but he's like, I never would have imagined the universe that is out there. So yeah, that's a message that was clearly to the audience there. But that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your Spidey moments?
Oh god. Okay, coming from like Andrew Garfield was my Spider-Man. Like he just was.
You didn't want to see the. I had to like force you to watch.
I didn't want to because
honestly, here's what happened. I think the first thing she ever saw of Tom Holland was when he died in Infinity War. I think that was the first thing I ever showed you. It was like, here, this is the new Spider-Man. You need to check this out.
And then I think I went back and watched Spider-Man.
Civil War, and then we watched Far From Home.
Yeah.
And yeah, you were in at that
Seeing
point.
him in Tony's like relationship though.
When he finally comes back and Tony.
Well, I mean, just even like from Homecoming or whatever, when Tony like finds him.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I just love that they made that like so special. And then like, I think the only reason that he even agreed to do the whole time machine thing is because of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like,
because of
Peter.
losing,
if it weren't for him,
right,
I don't know that he would have done
might
it.
have just been happy. And that was one of the funny that I mentioned earlier was everybody lost something, but and Pepper even mentions that
we got lucky.
They got lucky, and they have their daughter. He's got everything he wants except Peter. I think you're right. You don't go back and do it if it ain't for Peter.
Yeah. But yeah, it was special when he came through that circle.
That's what I was over.
Oh man. Yeah. It was. I like don't even have words. I don't have words. It was so special. And then when he was like, I got all dusty and what you doing there,
My
bud?
hand is killing me. We need a tripod.
You need to not get that close to my face. And then like Tony just hugged him and Peter Parker's like, this is nice. Like he has no idea what's going on. There's like a huge war. He just like gets thrown into it. Iron Man's hugging him. He's just like.
Well, think about even what is it in Homecoming when Tony leans in to open the door and Peter thinks he's giving him a hug.
Oh yeah.
So like he's obviously since he's lost Uncle Ben and his parents, he wants that father figure in his life too.
Yeah.
So I mean it means just as much to him as it does to Tony. So their relationship.
Oh, when Tony did die and Peter's right there and he's like, "You're okay, Mr. Stark. You're okay," and he kind of like starts to lose it. And freaking Pepper comes up and like grabs him and just kind of like embraces him for a minute and then just kind of puts him over. I'm like, oh.
Her telling, and she knows, she mentions it earlier in the movie that like, getting him to stop has been something she's never been able to do. And her telling him, like, she could tell that he's still holding on. He's still, like, struggling.
And he
There's
was
still
like,
this little bit. And she finally
he's like,
says,
let's just go to bed. And she's like, yeah, but will you be able to rest? And he's like, and then when he dies, she tells him, like, you can finally rest now. Yeah.
So many moments.
And of course, like, her and, I mean, obviously they lost someone, but they're, like, billionaires. So it's not like her and his kid are going to, Morgan or whatever,
would go there.
Like, going to struggle.
You would go there being the mom that you are. Like,
I mean, you think about those things.
I do think about those things, yeah. You probably had a good life insurance policy. I don't know if it counts once he announced
him going back in time and seeing his dad was kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
But I'm nervous the whole time because I'm like, if you screw this up, you're done. The whole thing is like, you already messed up once. Like, you cannot screw this up. Like, quit talking to. And then he was like, his dad was making him hold flowers and whatever that. And then he's got the briefcase. I'm like, he's gonna give the briefcase to his dad. He's gonna give it to his dad and walk away. Like, I was just like, all these things are going through my head. Like, don't mess this up, Tony. Don't mess this up.
Yeah, that was cool. And him getting that. He always struggled with not thinking that his dad loved him or it was just tough love. And I think him seeing, if we could all go back and see like the absolute the amount of dedication and love that our parents had for us when we were kids and how they just want what's best for us, I think that was cool. So
yeah,
we should all get that opportunity at some point. It'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. What else? Black Widow.
Oh yeah.
That was tough. Is that the same spot that Gamora died?
Yep.
Okay, I thought so.
Same thing.
Okay. I went to the bathroom before that. That's when I went to the bathroom. And give me the camera.
Okay. My hand is killing.
It's a better angle. That's when I went to the bathroom and I come back to her hanging on to Hawkeye and she's like, just let me go, it's okay. And he's like, no. And then she kicks herself off the wall. Yeah. And so that's why I was like, wait, what's happening right now?
Because you have to sacrifice someone you love.
Yeah. But okay, that's what I'm going to ask you though. Didn't they know that? They didn't know that?
No, because the only person that would know that exactly how it had to happen would have been Gamora or Thanos. All that Nebula knew was he went with her and came back without, but she didn't know that like he had to kill her. You have to sacrifice someone you love to get the Soul Stone. I don't think she knew that. She just knew that.
So how did the guy told him when they got there?
Yeah, Red Skull. Mm.
So were they fighting each other?
Well, because they both wanted to sacrifice themselves. Obviously, Natty wanted to because Clint's got a family, and Clint wanted to because he'd spent the last 5 years, you know, doing horrible things and killing people, and this is his moment to redeem himself. They end up both actually essentially have a fight scene of who is going to be the one to actually.
That's what I missed. I came back right at the end of the fight scene, and then when she goes to fall and he grabs her, that's when I came back. So I was got it. That's what I was confused about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was sad, and I cried. I mean, there's so many times I cried. I cried at that point, but...
What was when the first moment you cried?
It was when his family disappears in the beginning, and he's running around like crazy, and I lost it.
First
that was the first scene. That was the very first scene, was them, and he's teaching his daughter how to shoot the bow and arrow, and like... They're having a cookout, and he literally turns around and you just see stuff flying, and you're like, oh my gosh.
And he has no idea what's going on at this point. Right. So for all he knows, his family's been kidnapped. I mean, I'm sure as soon as he got to a TV and figured out what was going on. But
yeah, but that was sad.
And then Tony having a daughter. I don't know if he full on cried, but just seeing him get that piece was kind of like a sweet moment.
Yeah, it was sweet.
And how he wanted to keep that. He didn't want to go back in time and erase.
Because he wanted to make sure that, And I thought about that too when they went to him. I was like, he's not going to do it if it's going to change his.
What I did too, even like Hulk. I'm like, man, that would suck if they go back in time and like
everything
everyone that's actually progressed in the past 5 years, is erased. But that didn't end up happening. He even told him like right when Hulk's getting ready to snap, he's like. Everyone comes back to this time. Like, think that right.
Yeah.
Don't mess that up.
Yeah. Thor is a hot mess.
Yeah. He's definitely a hot mess throughout the entire movie for the most part.
Which, like, is it just because they lost? Like,
no, I think it's because he obviously feels the most failure because he went through all that trouble to get Stormbreaker. Well, one, he's the first one to ever encounter Thanos when he shows up in the beginning of Infinity War and kills Loki, and kills half the Asgardians. So he goes on this whole quest and gets Stormbreaker, masses all this power, and then he essentially beats Thanos, and Thanos says, you should have gone for the head, and snaps. And I think his thought is, if he wouldn't have been arrogant, or if he would have just finished the job, or gone for the head, or done any number of other things with the weapon that he had to kill Thanos.
I don't remember. You should have gone for the head.
Yeah, in Infinity War, he throws and hits the axe right in the chest of Thanos, and he's pushing it in, and he's killing him, and Thanos is like whispering something. He's like, you should have gone for the head. And
that's when he snaps. All they had to do was cut dude's arms off, and this all. They
learned because in the first 20 minutes of the movie, they go and chop his arm off.
They do. They cut his arm off. Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, I thought they did a good job of how to figure out how to deal with the Captain Marvel issue, of being how she is so overpowered. Like, what do you do when you've created a character that's literally stronger than every single person? So they kind of worked that out as like she goes off and starts checking on other worlds.
Quit.
And then obviously comes back at the end and gets to have a cool moment. So I thought they did that. I was kind of worried. I thought maybe she wouldn't come back. I thought maybe I'm gonna be kind of mad if she's in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then they just write her off and never comes back. So
I do like how they kind of put like a little feminist.
Oh yeah, all the chicks coming together to save
when
Peter.
When she comes in, and Peter's like, Peter's like, hey, I'm Peter Parker, and it's not to save him, but he's like, how are you gonna get this through all that? And it's like all this stuff, and all the like BA like women of the whatever come in, and they're like, we got this.
Yeah, Nebula, Gamora, Wasp, Okoye, Scarlet Witch. Sorry, all the pretty much every woman from the.
That was cool though, like just that shot of like all the.
So many, and then once the circles open, I mean, actually even before that, it's cool. But man, once everybody from the snap comes back, and it's just it's insane.
I started crying like a baby too when Black Panther showed up. And he was like the first one, like on your left. And he turns and looks, and it's Black Panther and like his two.
Right, everyone that essentially from the snap that happened when that was in Wakanda.
Yeah. But like, when he showed up, I lost it. Like, and I'm not even like a huge, I don't even know if I've seen, this is bad. I don't even know if I've seen like.
I think I watched it once and you were like there in the room. Yeah. But I don't think I've
seen it like.
You watched enough because you like Michael B. Jordan, who plays Killmonger, and you liked his, you liked those parts. But I don't know if you.
But for whatever reason, when like he shows up and his mask comes off, and you can just like see some like relief on Captain's face, and I'm just like,
it worked.
Like I just like started bawling.
They had an idea that it worked. From a few other things,
because
and
what's his name? Hawkeye's wife called.
Right. But that's the first time that they see somebody.
Yeah.
Like, and at that point they start realizing like it worked.
It worked.
And you in the audience know it worked. Everyone's coming back, and then all the other circles start opening up, and crowd was going nuts.
Yeah.
I thought the biggest pop from the crowd was when Cap wields Thor's hammer. What do you think?
Yeah. Which.
And Thor's like, I knew it.
How? Because didn't Cap try before and he never could? So why now?
I think that was like a party. They were just like messing around and it wiggled. I mean, the desperation of the moment and that he's worthy. You know, he's worthy to hold the hammer.
How did the whole like going back in time? He knew what he was doing. Cap, he knew he wasn't coming back.
Oh, you think when he left, he had every intention of staying? Yeah, and I think they teased that, and I kind of thought that when he first.
How does that work though? If he doesn't come back, like, how does that not mess up? Like, I don't know. It's weird. Time travel's weird. I don't understand
it. You can't think about it that much.
Yeah,
you just gotta like enjoy the movie.
I just feel. Oh, and like when Nebula kills herself, I'm like, so you should die. Like you killed your past self. Like, I for sure thought she was going to kill herself, and then I thought it was going to go to her, and she was going to, like, that's
from a different time. She's from a different timeline.
I know, but it was still, like, she didn't kill future her. Like, she killed past her. I feel like if you go past in time and you kill somebody, then, like, that person in the future is not going to be there.
Well, because they take the approach of when you go back in the past, it essentially creates a branch of, now you've created parallel different universes. So you've almost got
that's like what that chick was telling.
This universe Nebula and this universe Nebula. So it's not so much like a linear line of past. It's once you go back, you create a branch.
Okay. I guess that makes sense then.
You have to look at it. You gotta think about that.
That's like when Ant-Man was like, so Back to the Future's a load of, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
lots of jokes about all the different...
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah.
Which was Paul Rudd in that movie? I feel like...
No, it's John Cusack. John Cusack's in that movie.
Yeah, but it was a good... I mean, I don't know. It was really well done, I think. Like...
The end credits even.
They just paid tribute to like all these people who've put so much time and... Like, those actors, I mean, they're getting paid a lot of money, but, like, that's a lot of their lives that they
I mean, especially the ones that do...
Put into these movies.
That build their bodies, you know, guys like... I'm sure Chris Hemsworth's always had a nice body, but it seems... I mean, they bulk up for these movies.
He didn't get fat.
No, I'm sure it was a
But did Tony Stark get skinny?
Oh, like in the beginning when he's all malnourished?
Because that doesn't look CGI. Like, I don't know.
With it being such a short... minimal amount of, I doubt that
Probably
he
not.
Starved
because then he would have had to
5 minutes of the movie.
Then he would have had to get better.
Yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, I mean it was definitely the end of an era. It has to. All that I can think of is what it felt like when people saw Return of the Jedi for the first time, and that's only 3 movies. This is 22 movies over the course of 11 years. I mean, that's insane. But I mean, I'm the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. And I have to imagine that this Marvel MCU thing is probably like my generation's Star Wars. I still love Star Wars, but the way that it captures everyone's imagination and everyone's emotional support. I mean, you go to Star Wars movies now, and it's Star Wars fans. I mean, you might get other people but it's not the cultural thing that these Marvel movies are. That's the only thing I can imagine what it was like was when you saw Return of the Jedi back in 1983, and at the end when the Empire falls and they show all the different people celebrating. They did something similar. They showed like Wakanda celebrating and all those other things. So
yeah.
you know, and they're gonna keep making the movies, but I don't know if it'll be the same. I don't know. They'll still be fun. I mean,
they're gonna keep making Avengers.
No, they're gonna keep making. I mean, like there's gonna be another Black Panther. There's the next Spider-Man movie comes out in June.
That'll be kind of. I'll be interested in that though, because like, just Peter dealing with like the loss of Tony and
what they do.
I'm sure
next.
they'll kind of play some of that into it, and
if it's even based after this, we really don't even know. It could be. Some people were saying that it's actually before Infinity War, and when they're coming, when he's on the bus and they come back in Infinity War, they're coming back from that trip overseas. That movie's, we don't know, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're gonna keep making Captain Marvel. They're gonna make more Captain Marvel movies, Black Panther movies, Spider-Man. I mean, so a lot of these characters are gonna keep on going. But I mean, I don't know if it'll be the same as that initial core group of that first Avengers movie that was
right.
So huge.
Oh, I cried when Nick Fury showed up at the funeral. Like when they went.
Yeah, they
to
didn't
him.
use much.
I mean, you didn't see him.
Right.
You knew like he had to have come back.
Right.
But
well, what was he gonna do?
Well,
He's always
yeah,
kind of behind the scenes,
yeah.
But
But like just him being there was cool seeing him there.
Yeah. Well, this video is going to be like an hour long. I talked for like 30 minutes before I came up and talked to you.
Yeah, but...
So there's a lot to talk about. It's a 3-hour movie. But yeah, I definitely want to see it again. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I forgot.
Like I want to see it again, but I'm also not prepared emotionally to like see it again yet.
You know.
Like,
I want to keep seeing it and being in an audience with people that are seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Just to like keep seeing what parts people react to, what parts people cheer for, hearing reactions. That place, I mean, I joked about the girl sitting next to me that kept crying, but she wasn't the only one I could hear just sobbing and sniffling. I mean, you could hear and tears and stuff all throughout the theater, that last act of the movie.
Yeah.
Pretty cool moment.
It was cool.
Definitely will define our prior generation's biggest pop culture thing.
Yeah,
but hey,
for sure.
Battle of Winterfell is on Sunday night.
Oh gosh, I'm not ready for. I hate zombies.
Well, and we're probably going. They're not afraid to kill people off. Marvel's tiptoed around it. I have expected Tony to come back some way in that movie, but not Game of Thrones. Man, they will kill off. They're not afraid to kill anybody else. So we'll see what happens on Sunday night.
I'm really only invested in like 2 characters in their love story, so that's the only reason I'm watching it.
And the 2 people that will most likely live all the way to the end.
If they kill those 2 off, like I don't. What are you doing? But yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun. Maybe we'll do. I definitely will do this again when Star Wars comes out. We could do one when Lion King comes out.
We already know.
There's a Lion King trailer. Yeah, I can get your thoughts though. I mean, what we thought.
The Lion King trailer was the same one I've seen.
I know, but it was cool that they literally played that and then the Star Wars trailer right afterwards.
Yeah.
So it was like they were.
The Star Wars one was the same too.
Right.
That
neither of them were new, but it's still cool to see them. I mean, I've only watched them on my phone and stuff, so to see them on the big screen is definitely cool. But
I'm just excited for like all the Lion King merch that's gonna be there, like all the Avengers merch, and like they had some Aladdin
the cups and stuff,
merch and stuff. Like I'll be excited for all the Lion King merch.
You just want a big cup with a little plastic Simba on top.
Yeah, not a freaking Thanos. I don't know why you got that.
I don't know. It was the one that was the cup.
Should have vetoed that right away. I would have got Iron Man had I known. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, you can go back and get
next time. Go buy another $8 cup. But
alrighty. Well, in other news, the house looks really good because Ashley cleaned it for the babysitter. So maybe we'll do a house tour.
She's a kid sitter.
Kid sitter, yeah. I mean, I like being called
No.
babysitter. So maybe we'll do a house tour this weekend.
Yeah, maybe.
Other than that, if you haven't watched, check out just our fun earlier video going to the movies. It's not as long as this one. And I'll put my link to my review in the comments here, unless you're watching it on the page where the review is. But yeah, thanks for hanging in with us if you watched all the way to the end, and we'll see you on Lion King.